Kitty, people are laughing about this on the East Coast. They're not gonna appreciate it. If the bed looks like a mess. Do anything for love, but I won't move cat. Fix the framing. Okay. Petticoat on the bed doesn't work super great. Hi, and welcome to the drama in the Sacramento EGL Lolita community part 2. In part 1, we discussed how I got banned for standing up for someone who was banned wrong, and the list of reasons why my ban wasn't really legitimate. And today, we're gonna go into the absolutely bizarre way that these moderators are attempting to run a community. I'm Pink, this is Mitty the Keytar cat. Let's get into it. Lolita fashion is an alternative fashion based out of Japan. It's kind of like, you know, goth and punk where people go around in costumey looking clothes, except you want to look cute and elegant. At 7 p.m. last night, I was made aware of a couple of screenshots that were taken by people who talked to the moderators on Twitter. Some of the mods have private accounts, but their replies are still public. There's kind of an alarming implication that the people that the moderators regularly interact with seem to have decided that they wanted certain people gone in the group. And actually one of the meets they're referencing here was my meet, which was held in late November. Someone had hosted a meet to a pumpkin patch, was not able to go, and I said I can host the meet. 24 hours before the meet was supposed to happen, no one having said they were going to go. So I canceled the meet because I didn't want to go to the pumpkin patch by myself. Having canceled the meet, we were not actually able to go to the pumpkin patch from that point on. And right after I canceled the meet, I had 3 people at the very end say, oh, I was gonna go to that meet. So I really hastily said, we can't go to the pumpkin patch anymore, we lost our chance on that, so let's go sit in Starbucks and just chat. And we did sit in Starbucks and just chat, and it was really fun. I got to meet some great people in the community. So that is what sitting at a fast food restaurant with strangers is referencing. I don't think it was wrong to cancel an event with 24 hours notice when 0 people have RSVP'd. I am going to present it largely as I was before, which was that there were moderators with good intentions who were just executing things very poorly. But I do want people to keep in mind that there was discussion of I want them gone several months ago. I know that I'm sitting here and chatting in a relatively calm but slightly pissed off and very sarcastic way. And I want to clarify that that isn't the reaction that everybody else who was banned has. But one of the people who was banned is in their early 20s and went to 8 different high schools. For those of you who are not from the United States, that's basically changing school twice a year for 4 years. And so they weren't ever really able to form long-term, years-long friendships because of this, because they moved so often. And when they finally were living on their own, where they're in control of when and where they move, and they allowed themselves to form a group of friends over the past 2.5 years that they've been in the fashion, to have that suddenly taken away from them was really very painful. Another person who was banned grew up in a very strict, oppressive religion. I'm not gonna call anybody a cult, but a very, very strict religion. And when they left that religion, they lost contact with all of their extended family and all of their friends. And finding out that a community that they've been part of since they were 15 or 16 is no longer accessible to them because they were banned over something really stupid made them go through that again. So the fact that I'm sitting here and talking calmly about this, don't assume that that's something everybody else here is able to do. And then I'm gonna say this a lot, but just to clarify, we were all banned without any warnings. So anytime that somebody, I describe a behavior and you say, okay, I can understand how that is a problem, I need you to immediately ask yourself, is that a problem that could have been made to go away by talking with the person who has the problem behavior? If I talk to the person who is the problem, would the problem have a high chance of going away? Because that is a solution that was not ever once attempted. I also, hang on a sec, I need coffee. I also want to talk about the manipulative way that this has all been handled. They are permitted to describe crimes in the vaguest of details. I still have no idea what causing a disruption by fake RSVPing to events even means, but I was banned for that. And then, to prove our innocence, we are expected to provide concrete examples of when we did not do this behavior, which largely relies on us guessing because we don't have enough information to know what the behavior even was. And then, once we've confessed to something that could potentially be this behavior and why that wasn't wrong, the moderators are able to go, oh, we weren't talking about that, and negate any of this. This puts a huge amount of labor on us to prove the truth, but no labor on them to prove that there was a crime. If they're allowed to just say, oh no, it wasn't that, without any further details, there's no way for us to assume that they didn't just change their mind when it turns out that we had a real justification for what they were saying. And while we talk about that, every time that they have nailed down a concrete thing about what we did, it's not holding up. One of the people who was banned got in contact with the moderators of the Bay Area EGL community to say, hey, these people who are messaging you saying that they banned us, their reasons aren't particularly valid, and I would really appreciate if we're not banned from the community. What they said you were banned for was causing a disruption at the Bay Area K panel at Fanime in 2022. Now, the only problem with this being listed as a reason why I and several other people were banned is that none of us went to the Bay Area K panel at Fanime 2022. I didn't go to Fanime in 2022. I haven't been to Fanime since 2013, but that was still allowed to be listed as a reason why I was banned. And then when we bring up I actually haven't been to Fanime in 10 years, they get to go, oh, we weren't actually talking about that, and once again are not expected to tell us what they were talking about. When they provide a concrete example of what we did and we're able to refute it, suddenly they drop the issue. Another example of this was claims that Sarah was doxing people. For people who don't know, doxing is when you collect personally identifying information about somebody and then post it online, usually with the intent of harassing that person. Like their full name, their address, the place that they work. When Sarah was banned initially, she was banned for no reason. They removed her from the group and then clarified that they did not ban her, and this will come up later. But they removed her from the group and gave her no answer that she was banned, and definitely did not give a reason why she was banned. And then when we started asking the mods to be accountable for this action in the group, they said that it was because she was a safety issue, she was doxing people, and she had severe mental health problems. Now, the mod who said that did later recant. They didn't mean that they were banning her because removing her. They didn't say they were removing her because she was mentally ill. They were removing her because she caused other people to be mentally ill. That is an equally serious allegation, and that was not helpful, but also, I remember how many times I've accidentally written a paragraph and a half about how someone's mentally ill, and it was just an accident. We've had members of this community who have previously been doxxed on anonymous image boards like 4chan, and received real harassment in the mail. They've had people mailing them, stuff. Don't want to get demonetized, y'all. That's just a really pretty serious thing to accuse someone of in a community where this has already happened to someone. Hang on a sec. Every time that Sarah, interacted with the mods in the time where they didn't tell her why they banned her, which was a 2-week period, we'll get into that in chronology. Every time that Sarah told them, asked why they were banned or who she doxed, they'd come up with different answers, and eventually they said that doxing is posting screenshots of private conversations on Discord. That's not what doxing is. And that she had doxed one of the moderators by posting the screenshot where the mod said that she was severely mentally ill, and that had half of the mod's Discord username and their public profile. And this is fucking hilarious because this specific mod, this mod interacts with the Facebook community using their normal Facebook account, which has their you made all of that so easy to share. You willingly, openly posted that publicly. I'm gonna say, posting someone's screen name and their avatar when you have access to all of their Facebook profile and all of the information that they voluntarily put there, that is the opposite of doxing. When we pointed out that that is not doxing, they changed it to, well, you posted someone's zip code in a Lace Market post. And one of the other people who was banned, Lilac Sugars, said, "You do realize that happened to me. I'm her friend. It was a joke, and I was okay with it." And then they dropped the very serious allegation of doxing without any note or any apology, as if they had just resolved the situation. I think my camera's about to run out of memory, so I'm going to fix that. Anytime that we have proof that an allegation is not correct, they just drop it with no admission that they made that allegation in the first place. One of the list of reasons why I was banned was that I took a banned group member to a meet. This was a meet that I hosted, and at the time, first of all, we had it clarified more than once that Sarah was not banned, she was removed. And that was made as if it was a very serious distinction. One of the moderators made that statement. As the host, I was allowed to determine if people were or were not permitted to bring a +1. Somebody else at the meet did bring a +1, and they were not banned. People are regularly taking pictures at meets. We're all dressed up pretty silly. People are taking selfies. We've had times where someone's partner brought a full-on DSLR and took pictures. So this was just very common, but for some reason when Sarah did it, it was a safety issue. And let's take this at face value for a second. I don't believe that Sarah posting some selfies was such a safety issue that it required her to be banned without notice. But here's the thing. They said that they had 10 cases of her making people, over 10 cases, of her making people uncomfortable at meets, and multiple and repeated times where she was a safety issue. So let's imagine that you are the moderator of a group right now. I come up to you and I say, "Hey, someone made me really uncomfortable at a meet and I think it's a safety issue." And you're a moderator and you don't do anything about it. Now this is the first accusation and it makes sense that you might not do something about it right then and there. But it happens again. And then there's a third time where someone comes up and says, "This person made me uncomfortable at a meet and I think it's a safety issue," and you don't do anything. And then it happens a fourth time. And then it happens a fifth time, and you still haven't done anything. Now, assuming there is some overlap between 10 times you made people uncomfortable and multiple and repeated, which I'm gonna guess is about 4 times where there was a safety issue, assuming there's some overlap, we can say that's maybe 12, 11 to 13 examples where someone comes up to a moderator at Sacramento EGL and says, "I think there's a safety issue," and they did nothing. Now, this is such a full and startling confession to poor moderation that I am frankly stunned that they would openly admit this, much less attempt to use it as a reason why someone else was the problem. Throwing that out there. So, more coffee. The claims of Sarah having problem touching with people, that is massively exaggerated. So Lolita fashion is a fashion with a lot of very textured textiles. Here's just like a close-up of the lace on my dress. And Sarah, as someone who's autistic, is very interested in texture. So she will go up to people and say, "Hi, is it all right if I touch your dress?" She always asks, almost to the point of sounding like a robot. And Apparently that was making people uncomfortable that she asked. But nobody ever said, you cannot do that. No one ever went up to her and said, it makes people uncomfortable when you ask to touch their clothes. Even though you're asking, you need to not do that at all. And this is a situation where, like, as someone who's her friend, if I had recognized that it was making people uncomfortable, I would probably tip her off as well. But as it was, it appears that the only people who were told that this was an uncomfortable behavior were the moderators. And it was their job to pass this information on to Sarah for the safety of the community, and they opted to not do that and instead wait until over 10 complaints had happened and then ban her. So the fact that she had reports of problem touching was, again, a problem that was created by the moderators refusing to offer any kind of verbal or written warning. Not giving warnings before you ban someone is, first of all, really bad moderation, because, like we just addressed, it means that if you wait until you have enough reasons to ban someone before you talk to them, you are ignoring problems for a pretty extended period of time, or you're banning people for first offenses, and neither of those are particularly good. But let's talk about discrimination against autistic people really fast. So if you have a rule in your community, and that rule is more difficult for one group of people to follow than another group of people, that's getting up towards what discrimination is. And if the one group of people openly expresses to you that they need a certain accommodation in order to follow that rule, and that accommodation is reasonable, then you are helping to undo some of that discriminatory rule, and you're making it accessible for everyone. So when the autistic Lolita community within your group, which is more people than just Sarah, has said, hi, we need to be spoken to directly if we have a problem because we're not able to just take a hint. And that's a pretty reasonable accommodation if you ask me. And it's a thing that could evenly be applied to all group members without having to single anyone out. And when you've been told, I have what is considered in the state of California to be a disability, and my accommodation is getting a single warning before I am banned, and you don't do that, that sounds a lot like you're trying to get rid of the autistic people in your Lolita community. Alright. To everyone who says you should make your own group, we did. We did at the suggestion of the moderation team of the SAC EGL Discord community, which they recommended twice, and then they banned us for making our own community. This is what we're dealing with. The first time where a group of us questioned whether or not the moderators had everybody's best interests at heart, we'll get into that in the chronology, and they basically said, if you don't like it, you can go make your own community. So we went and made our own community. And then later, the day that Sarah was banned, this was about 2 months later, where we'd slowly been adding people to the group. Sarah wears Lolita fashion every single day, so she meets other people who are interested in Lolita fashion, and she'd share them with our Discord group. So then, the day that Sarah was banned a couple months later, we did that, and we said, these are not good rules, you're following bad rules. One of the moderators said, well, if you guys don't like it, you can make your own server. So we dropped a link to our own server, which had about 50 members at the time, and then they just started making rules saying that you can't do that, and they later banned me for, among other reasons, the fact that when I hosted a Lolita panel at SAC Anime, I didn't say, there's an official Lolita Discord, and mine is an unofficial one, but you can join it. Hang on a sec, we're putting the coffee down. Now this gets to the moderators, seeming to have no understanding of where their boundaries are, of how much moderation power they do have. Because my Lolita panel at SAC Anime was not a SAC EGL sanctioned thing. They are their own group with their own moderators, and Sarah and I hosted the SAC EGL panel at SAC Anime because we asked if we could, and the convention granted us that right, as anime conventions do. People who attended that panel had no reason to believe that there was anybody claiming to be an official group. We didn't, they said that I was intentionally misleading people by sharing my Discord server at the panel without clarifying that it was unofficial. For those of you who don't know how Discord works, you aren't ever looking at a list of servers to join and selecting them. You get added to a server by given a direct link from a member of that server. At one point, they changed their name on the server from SAC EGL to official SAC EGL. And when they did that, I had our server name changed to self-proclaimed officialist SAC EGL meets of all time, exclamation point, exclamation point. Now, I thought that this satire was inherently obvious, but apparently the moderation team of the other group did not believe so. They included that on the list of reasons why I was banned. And I want to say, we know for a fact that if they had contacted me and said, the name of your server is misleading, and if you don't change it, we will ban you, I would have changed it. I know this 100%. So we can chalk that up on 100% confirmed examples of when I would have changed my behavior if I had been given a warning. This extends even farther, another among the reasons why we were banned was Sarah breaking their rules while she was not in their server and was following the rules of the server she was in. When I was banned, they told me that I was still allowed to attend private events. Yes. Yes, I was. And I know this because you never had any control over it. They were never able to ban from private events because they do not govern everything that happens in Lolita fashion in the greater Sacramento area. And yet they seem to believe that they can dish out punishment for anything that happens in Lolita in Sacramento. You were banned for being rude at a panel that was not a SAC EGL event that you didn't go to. You were banned for, one of the reasons that Lilac Sugars, who's the one who posted the very vague TikTok that was just, I'm really upset that my friend is being mistreated by my local Lolita community, without identifying the local Lolita community, in a private group chat that had a few members of SAC EGL in it. SAC EGL, more like ball SAC EGL. And then saying rude things about the community in non-community spaces was one of the reasons why they cited that Lilac Sugars was banned. And let's be real, Ballsack EGL is really funny. This gets to a really big question of where does their authority end? Personally, I think that barring an actual safety issue, someone has infiltrated the community to post selfies on anonymous message boards, someone is part of the community, but they're actually using it as an excuse to jack off at home. Something like that. I don't think that talking about someone negatively on a non-EGL space should be bannable. And if it is bannable, we're expected to unquestioningly follow what the moderators say at all times and respect them no matter where we are and no matter what bad decisions they're making. How far is that authority? I know that I can't be naked at a meet, but if SAC EGL happens everywhere and all the time, am I allowed to be naked in my shower anymore? Do I need to start showering in a full coordinate? And then when they say yeah, you're still welcome to attend private meets, fuck yes I am, you dumbass. You've never had the authority to take that away, so why on earth did you need to clarify that I still have it? That's like saying I'm still allowed to poop. You never had the right to take away my right to poop. So let's get to who are the mods. Let's get some more coffee. Who are the moderators of SAC EGL? Why were they chosen? And what is their responsibility? So I was part of this community for exactly 364 days. They banned me one day before my 1 year meet. And, well, it's hard to check because I was banned from the places that logged this According to my Instagram and my Tumblr, it looks like I went to about 14 meets in that time. Official meets. That's not counting like going and getting coffee with a friend. That's official meets. Again, I can't verify that because it was banned. In that time, I met one of the Facebook moderators one time on Discord, where I interacted with people every day because I'm pretty active on Discord. I interacted with Discord moderators, excluding when they were cocking things up. I interacted with Discord moderators 3 or 4 times. The other mods I interacted with was when they were making weird changes to group rules or banning people for no reason. At one point they made a big change to how the group functioned, and a lot of people, myself included, but not exclusively me, basically said, "Who the fuck are you, and why do you have the authority to make these rules when you don't represent the community?" And we said several times, like, rules like this should be voted on, and the mods would say, yes, all the mods voted on it. It's like, that is the problem. So the mods are not elected, and they're not actually expected to take a leadership role in things like planning or attending meets or interacting with the community. Every time that we asked, who are you and why are you a mod, they responded with, well, we were here first, so we are moderators. This was making big changes to how people are allowed to interact with each other while wearing Lolita fashion, and these decisions were not brought to a group attention before they were changed. Saki GL has a rule that everyone has to attend a minimum of 1 meet a year. Now, there used to be about 250 people in the Saki GL Facebook page, so we know that that wasn't ever enforced, but the fact that it wasn't ever enforced on the mods, like, if you check Facebook, you will see, at least I assume so, a meet that it looks like multiple moderators attended at Mas Tacos. If you can look deeper into that meet, there were 5 moderators in the group at the time. It's now 7 because adding more people doesn't make it worse. There were 5 mods. They capped the meet at 6 people. That doesn't count. So I know this is a lot, and we're not even in the chronology of how we got to where we are. So I'm gonna recap real fast. Even if the mods were active in the community in the past, they are not active now. This means that they can make rules and changes that don't impact them. We currently have evidence that some of the mentality from some people was, we need to get rid of certain people, and then the reasons to get rid of them were found. The process of banning without warnings is unfair to everybody in the community, but it's especially unfair to the autistic members of the community. And let's go on something real fast. Wearing Lolita fashion and neurodivergence are very closely related. As we put it, normal people don't want to dress like this. You should. It's really fun. The moderators seem to think that they can govern things, or that they should govern things, that didn't happen in Saki GL spaces or at Saki GL. And those things that they think they can govern are not things like, this person is a real threat to the community and is more, somebody called our moderation ball Saki GL. Like, you can't ban someone for talking negatively about you when you did something wrong. They can, and they have, and I'm not gonna let them get it away with. They're accusing us with a lot of vague statements, and then anytime that we can refute one, they just say, oh, that wasn't what we were talking about. And this gives the implication that there's a lot of things that we did wrong, but so far they've been unable to concretely prove any of them through a combination of their refusal to make, coherent statements, and the fact that the ones that they do have proven to not play out like they seem to think they did. Also, they told us to go make our own group, so we did, and then it got popular, so they made it prohibited for that. People in the Saki GL, original group, the one that we left, currently are being told that they can't interact with us or they will be banned. So that's That's a real good way to make people stay in your group, huh? Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! It's okay, it's Taobao anyway. So let's get into the chronology of how this got so bad so fast. When I am going to define as the start of the story, at this time, the Sacramento EGL Facebook page and the Sacramento EGL Discord group were two separate entities. They had some overlapping moderation and a lot of overlapping members, but not everybody who was in one group was in the other. And at the time, there were rules like, don't cross-post a meet from Discord to Facebook unless you are the host of the meet. You were not required to do this cross-posting. And the moderators came out one day and said, we have unified the two groups. All the mods are now the mods of the other groups. You must cross-post everything to Facebook, and if you don't have a Facebook account, you can't host meets anymore. There also were a lot of other rules about, you know, how much time you can have before you cancel a meet, how you have to have a backup person, how they're going to keep track of strikes, of strike 1, 2, and 3. If I remember correctly, the rules that they posted on Facebook, remember the Facebook group had at the time about 100 to 150 more people than the Discord group did. And they said on that one that strikes would be tracked with Discord roles. How are you going to do that when 80% of your community is not on Discord? You should have proofread that. The thing was, everybody who I talked to about this thought that it was about Sarah. And the reason we thought that was that Sarah had hosted or posted several meets that she then had to cancel. The reason she had to cancel it, one was that she lost her job and was job seeking and didn't have the same days off. Another meet she had to cancel because she was in the hospital. And while it was frustrating that this happened, it's also a case where going up to the people who had recently canceled the meets and said, hey, we want to let you know we're thinking about changing the rules about when you can cancel meets. So we'd really appreciate if you don't make us make that rule. If you can change your behavior right now, we won't need to make that rule and it'll be more fair for everyone. Just a thought you could have done that. A lot of us called them out on Discord. That's when we had the, wait, you say you're a moderator but none of us have ever met you conversation. The reason I have to bring up the shrimp thing, apart from the fact that it's pretty funny, is that we were told that using the shrimp thing was disruptive of online chats. So what that was just while we were having this conversation with the moderators and asking what the heck you guys are doing and why you're the moderators, people started reacting with the shrimp emoji to people who were questioning the moderators and not reacting with emojis to the moderators trying to justify this statement and this action. I don't know if you've been on Discord, but reacting with an emoji is not particularly obtrusive. It just pops up underneath. That's where the shrimp thing came from. That's why we've been saying this a bunch. So the moderators did not do anything, but this is critical to bring up because it has a fundamental shift in how the group was moderated. Because prior to this, it was effectively a large message board where people would say, I would like to host a meet at this place and this time, and they're able to reach other people who would be interested in the meet. When they changed the rules about why and how the meets were held, it changed how the moderators acted relative to the rest of the group. They went from being people whose job was largely to maintain the server and the Facebook page, you know, keep spam down, keep out people who were being problems, to them controlling how people were supposed to behave. They gave themselves a new job, and they weren't super good at the new job, as you'll see. So that is the point where we make the SAC EGL Meets group, which was just what we wanted it to be, which is a place where people who wear Lolita can post links to meets they are hosting so that other people know to attend. It's just a corkboard for invitations. Unfortunately, due to all of these bannings, it has been the primary place where we've been discussing the bans, so it's not currently what we want it to be, but we are making efforts to get it back to being that. We made our own group. We invited people to it. I was hosting a meet very soon, and I let people know, hey, we're doing a secondary group. It's for, among other things, the new rules about meets made it impossible to host a meet in your own house. So we, basically were like, we're similar, we just don't have the same rules about cancellations. And we think that if there's a problem, you can just talk to the person. We hosted a panel at SAC Anime, and that was when we shared the QR code of our panel. We already talked about that. Later, that the mods made this bizarre post, I don't have text of it because I got banned, where they made a post tagging everyone on Discord, and in the announcements page on the SAC Anime Facebook that said, "We've done a thing. We won't tell you what it was. We don't take this lightly, but we did a thing. Don't ask what it was." Which, as Lilac Sugars put it, is kind of like me coming in and going, I have put poop in a drawer in your house. Do not look for the poop. I will not tell you what kind of poop it was. I will not tell you where it is. Do not look for the poop. That's the number one way to make people look at what it is. So that's just kind of fascinating to me that they decided that that was a way to handle it. So they told the entire community they'd done something. We took a look and they'd removed Sarah. So this was the second time where we, as a group of people, got together and said, hey, what are you doing? This is unfair. We chatted with those mods for about 3 hours trying to get them to tell Sarah that or why she was banned. They did not tell her that she was banned. This was the second time where we said, hey, this is not very cool of you. That was when the statements about severe mental health problems came up. That was when the first accusations of doxing came up. And this was the first example of, we can't tell people exact things someone did, even the person who had the bad behavior, because that's not safe. What do you mean you're out of battery, bitch? You went from 4 bars of battery to 0 bars of battery real fast, honey. Oh, sweet kitty, we messed up the framing, didn't we? Yes, we messed up the framing. So, yeah, this was when they banned Sarah without telling her that they banned her. They also have not ever apologized for this. They've said things like, we admit that a mistake was made. Here's a quick hint. If your apology is in the passive voice, then it's probably not a real apology. I have reason to believe that the catalyst of this was I don't like this new framing. So we had reason to believe that the catalyst for this was a disagreement that some people got into on my server. It didn't happen on SAC EGL. The actual how and why of the disagreement doesn't matter, but Sarah did post about it on TikTok if you want to check that out. Also, I want to bring up that none of this happened in a SAC EGL space. This happened in a different server with different people and different rules. While we were discussing with them, hey, why did you ban Sarah? Why didn't you tell her she was banned? Why didn't you tell her for what she was banned? And they said, we'll reach out to her. And then it was 2 weeks before they reached out to her. Someone sent a message that said, we're going to talk to you. And then it was 2 weeks before they did that. And I think the reason it wasn't longer was that other members of the community started getting vocal. Someone took this picture and put it on the official SAC EGL page. That was at week 1. And then at week 2, we had this picture posted by someone who definitely isn't me, posted as well. So this was, all things considered, relatively unobtrusive. When someone is ignoring you, sitting down and letting them ignore you and waiting for them to stop ignoring you doesn't work. So sometimes you have to get just a little bit vocal. That's what happened here. I don't think that's bad behavior, I think that's calling out bad behavior. One of the mods did say that they had some serious family problems going on, and you shouldn't have to deal with that while you're emotionally compromised. But one of the reasons why there are 5 mods, in my opinion, is so that if... I don't fucking know who you are. one of the reasons why you have 5 mods is so that if one of them is not able to do something, all moderation doesn't grind to a halt. So I think those 2 weeks was also based on the fact that they didn't actually have a list of reasons why Sarah was banned, and they had to fabricate one. Another reason why I think that that's fabricated is because of the statement there were 10 or more problems, which is just a confession that they ignored the problem 10 times. Because I think if that had played out in reality, it would have been pretty obvious that that was not a good thing to say. They ignored Sarah for 2 weeks, and then they added a new mod. The mods define banning as sharing private screenshots with people. And this is, okay, so imagine I run a Discord server, and I said that there is zero tolerance for animal abuse. That doesn't sound like a particularly incorrect statement. That seems fine. You abuse animals anywhere, ever, and I will ban you. So then you're a member of this group for 2 years, 2.5 years. And then one day, you get banned. Nobody else seems to get banned. You ask me why. 2 weeks later, I say, you're an animal, or you ask me why and I say you're an animal abuser. And I don't get back to you for 2 weeks. You can't think of why or when you abused animals. So 2 weeks later, you say, why was I banned again? I say, well, you're an animal abuser. You say, I haven't abused any animals. And I say, you didn't keep a vegan diet. So you are an animal abuser. The thing is, if your definition of a term differs drastically from what the commonly accepted definition of that term is, then you kind of are obligated to tell people that you're using a different definition, and you're also obligated to disclose that publicly and enforce that equally. You can't just be like, well, we decided that because we don't like you, when you post a screenshot, that's doxing. But when anybody else does, it's fine. It's almost like they targeted her or something. Also, in the time between when they said they'd address Sarah and when they actually did, Sarah made 2 TikToks explaining what was going on, and Lilac Sugars made one that was saying that they were upset with how their friend had been treated. So then I get on one day and I have a new Facebook message that lists all the reasons why I was banned. And in the previous video, I did list all the reasons. I read the whole thing to you. So I listed why we were banned, and it's BS, as I previously said. There's not very many concrete evidence, and all the concrete evidence that they do have, I can disprove in some way or another. They did say that, and I responded with the message. I responded with, so long, and thanks for all the fish. P.S. Thanks for putting this in writing. I do deeply regret this response. I should have said, so long and thanks for all the shrimp. But you know what? We all live with things we're gonna regret. Every single thing that was listed as a bannable offense had no warning given, and a large number of them should have had a warning given. We're banning you because you're speaking negatively of other members on your personal blog. If you'd given me a warning for that, I would have said, why the fuck do you think you have the authority to, sorry, let's pick a different example. We're banning you because your Discord server is clearly not our Discord server. Okay, we'll change the name. We're banning you because at certain events you took selfies and not everybody wanted to be in the background of them. Okay, we won't do that anymore. We're banning you because you spoke openly about your mental health on another platform and it's making people here uncomfortable. Okay, we'll, you know, what the fuck you want us to do about that? Everything that was a bannable offense that they actually should have had the right to moderate seems to be something that we can prove was not like that. Banning people just for disagreeing with you is not a good look. People are laughing at these moderators from the East Coast, just because it's so absurd. It's just not a good look for the total list of concrete reasons why you banned someone being, they made a TikTok that said that my local community, without identifying the local community, was bullying someone, and they called us ballsack EGL. I was banned for speaking up and saying you guys banned my friend incorrectly. You know, that's not a good look either. Banning people who you previously discussed with on Twitter you wanted gone. Yikes. Oh, one more thing. That is that they said on my list of bans that there was fear of retaliation if I remained in the group. First of all, retaliation means, like, evil for evil. In order for me to retaliate, technically, you had to have done something wrong first. Second of all, making a video where I do not identify any of these people who put their real names in public on Facebook, where I just say the mods and the group, that's not identifying information. This is not retaliation, this is self-defense and the defense of my friends. If you define retaliation as saying words we don't like you did with misinformation, that's, you know what? Fuck you. If they want to make this right, there's a couple things I think they should do. I think they should issue a public apology to Sarah. If they don't want to use her name, they can use her screen name of Frilled Criminal. I think that this should be an apology that starts with, "We did blank." And if you find yourself saying, "was done," if you're using the passive voice, that's not an apology. You need to say, "We did this. It caused this harm. We did this unfairly." Or, "We did this because blank, which we thought was fair, but we now recognize is not." Public apology. Solidly public apology. This is a public issue now. You gotta come out of it in public. I would have kept this within the group if I hadn't gotten banned. I wouldn't be posting this on the Facebook group. I wouldn't be posting this on the YouTube channel with 4,000 subscribers. I would have been posting it on the YouTube channel with 12 subscribers. But you know what? Here we are. I can't address the mods directly anymore, so I am just going to ruin them in the court of public opinion. Unbanning Lilac Sugars and the other people who were banned just for saying the mods are high on crack. You don't want to unban me, that's fine, but I think that a really good way of offering an olive branch without having to admit that you're wrong, and I hope that you like that I'm presenting you with this option because you don't deserve it, but I think a really good way of offering an olive branch without admitting any wrongdoing would be to make a rule in the group that the person who hosts a meet can decide if it's a meet that is exclusive for Saki GL members or if outside people are allowed to attend. That would mean that the people of the group can invite other people in, including myself, Sarah, and Lilac Sugars, and the other people who were banned, can invite them to a meet without having to be afraid of getting banned. I think that it's completely... I don't think any of this is completely fair. I think it's not asking too much on the moderator's part to say, we want people to have the option of keeping this within Saki GL. But I think that the person hosting the meet should also be allowed to say, I don't want to keep this within Saki GL, I want to invite everybody who's appropriately dressed. So I think making that rule would be a very good way to offer an indication of understanding that you messed up. And I hope that this video, long as it was, is an indication of numerous ways that you messed up. And as always, I'm Pink, you're watching Pink and the Keytar Cat, and thank you for following up with this edition of last month's Saki GL News. Thank you.